It has been brought to my attention that the founder of the archaeology department at BYU, Thomas Stewart Ferguson, in his revealing manuscript at the close of his career, he stated that no coin, no city, no people, plant, animal, language of the Book of Mormon has ever been discovered. Is this true? Well, Ron, even if it was true, it would have zero effect on my testimony of the Book of Mormon, which came by the power of the Holy Ghost through a miraculous personal revelation. And countless others have had the same experience. A lack of evidence really means nothing. You need to find something to prove it wrong, and that would be something to talk about.
Something to prove it wrong? Gee, how about the fact that there is no evidence of the things described in your scriptures? Effectively, this guy has just recycled the age-old fallacy that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Although technically correct from a purely philosophical viewpoint, there are a few problems with this logic when applied on a more practical level. For example, suppose I were to claim that, through the divine power of personal revelation, I, and many others just like me, have received knowledge that this guy right here is a closet homosexual pedophile. Furthermore, our supernatural source has indicated that this fellow also likes to dress children up as Disney characters and take pictures while his buddy Fred teabags them to the beat of angry lesbian music. By his very own logic, I don't need any direct evidence for this, after all.
A lack of evidence really means nothing.
So come on, folks, it's a belief free-for-all. You don't need hard evidence for believing anything, just so long as you receive a confirmation through divine revelation. Gee, isn't it funny how the exact same logic sounds like total bullshit when you try to apply it in other circumstances? Which leads us to the first logical fallacy about absence of evidence. Absence of evidence is not evidence for anything either. You can't go around believing in shit simply because you had some intense emotional experience. Human beings are remarkably self-deceptive in such matters and way over-prone to believing in things that may or may not be true. The only way to know for sure if something is real or not is to remove your own subjective bias out of it and demand the harshest of objective data.
I mean, if I went round saying I was an emperor, just because some moistened bint had lobbed a scimitar at me, they'd put me away. Shut up, will you? Shut up!
Now I'd like to tell you a story about something called the luminiferous ether. Long ago, scientists discovered that buried within the governing equations for electricity and magnetism, there existed a vector wave equation which perfectly described the propagation of light as an electromagnetic wave. And, as everyone knows, waves require some sort of medium through which to propagate. Scientists therefore postulated the existence of a vast cosmic medium which permeated throughout the universe. This medium was called the luminiferous ether, and for many years scientists attempted to measure our absolute motion through it. Yet for all the best attempts that man could throw into this endeavor, no experiment to date has been able to detect the ether. Eventually, it was accepted that the only way to explain this null result is to accept that there really is no universal medium and that light really can propagate freely through empty space.
A lack of evidence really means nothing.
So, the second absence of evidence fallacy occurs when disciplined efforts have been made to search out evidence and then failed to find any. When such events occur, absence of evidence really becomes evidence of absence. So how does this relate to the Book of Mormon? Well, archaeologists have been digging up artifacts from all across the American continent for decades, and to date there has yet to be any evidence of coins, wheat, horses, elephants, steel, or Hebrew influence of any kind in pre-Columbian culture. Nothing, none, nada, and nil. If such things truly existed, we should expect to find at least some definite signs of them, but we do not. It is therefore quite safe to conclude that they simply do not exist. But if evidence for these things does not exist, what evidence has been found? Consider coins for a moment. We know that ancient Mesoamericans utilized a form of pseudo-currency, and that it consisted primarily of things like seashells, beads, blades, and beans. The closest things to coins that have ever been discovered were simply handcrafted ornamental discs, and could not have been used viably as a wide-scale currency. Absence of evidence therefore becomes direct evidence of absence when there exists positive evidence for a contrary hypothesis. So, Mr. Mormon Answer Man, answer me this. Why on earth should anyone take you or your faith seriously when you happily resort to known logical fallacies in its defense? Is it really so hard to accept the idea that your beliefs just might be erroneous and in need of correction? Is your prideful closed-mindedness really so gripping that no matter how much evidence may emerge to the contrary, your subjective emotional experiences will always take precedence when forming beliefs about reality?
A lack of evidence really means nothing. You need to find something to prove it wrong, and that would be something to talk about.